Are you looking for a creeper farm that is insanely easy to use and all about the profit? Are you looking for a creeper farm that is actually like decently efficient? And most importantly, are you looking for a creeper farm that doesn't require like a million trapdoors to build? How you doing, everybody? It's me, Waddles, and today I'm going to show you how to build my brand new creeper farm. Today's farm was freshly designed for Minecraft 1.20 and should work on both Java and Bedrock. Do me a favor, lads, and smash that like button. Recommend the next tutorial that I should do down below, and let's take a look at the materials. To build this creeper farm, in exact amounts at the top of the chest, you will need 1 chest, 9 hoppers, and so on. When it comes to the building blocks that we're going to use for this build today, is really any spawnable building block. If you got a bunch of extra netherrack, do that. If you got a ton of extra cobblestone, that works too. Now, when I was designing this farm here, my goal was simplicity, or at least like relative simplicity. For each layer that you build of this farm today, you will need these amounts pretty much exactly. The model of this farm that I built over here inside of my world consists of 5 layers total. The more layers you build of this farm, the more efficient it's going to get. As you start to add more layers, take these exact amounts and multiply them. That's going to mean for our farm today, that's going to have 5 layers in total. Exact amounts, so basically, we're going to need all of these materials right here. This farm is meant to be easier and cheaper to build though. You don't have to do 5 layers. Last but not least, some other good things to have. Scaffolding to move around, maybe. Extra building blocks, great idea. And a sword with looting 3 to actually use this farm. Just like how it goes for pretty much every other Minecraft farm. Location, location. There are definitely some spots that you shouldn't build this farm, and some that you should. Absolutely, 100%. Do not build this farm inside of a biome with a temperature higher than 1. Biomes with a temperature higher than 1, that's going to consist of the warmer ones in Minecraft. So like a desert, a badlands biome, or even a savanna biome. That's not going to work. If possible and convenient, absolutely 100% build this farm over any type of ocean biome. Now, funnily enough, a warm ocean biome, it's not warm enough for a snow golem to melt. So a warm ocean is totally fine. By building your farm over an ocean that is at least a little bit sizable, like I've done over here, you're going to improve the rates of this thing. And for location, that's pretty much it. Let's get to the build. Once you find an ocean that is at least a little bit sizable with no large bodies of land nearby, it's time to build up. Using some sort of temporary block or scaffolding, you need to make your way from Y64 all the way up to Y250. Whether you'll be using scaffolding to make your way up to the build site today, or just building blocks and towering your way up, you're going to need about 3 stacks of blocks to get where we need to be. By building this farm so high up in the air, we'll be isolating spawns inside of it. Make your way up to 250, and then place a block. For the rest of this farm today, we'll be building this in my tutorial world. Just imagine this as a giant ocean. So this is my starting block, way up at Y250. From this starting block, we're going to expand it a little bit. We're going to have our platform where we stand to use this farm sitting at Y250. This chest is at Y251. From behind that chest, we're going to place 3 hoppers going into it, and then more hoppers going into either side of that. We're creating a 3x3 of hoppers. Now from this hopper right here, we're going to place a temporary block, permanent block right there. Now we're going to start building up. The blocks that you use for this part need to be solid, light throwable building blocks. If that makes sense. Now from this block right here, we are building straight up off of the side of the hopper, 19 blocks into the air. Then we're going to go ahead and fill it in on every single side. We're essentially building walls right now so the creepers that drop out of this farm don't drop out of this farm and then land on top of you and then blow yourself up. Now for this tutorial today, I'll be building the farm out of blocks that I think look pretty nice. But remember, you don't need to use the blocks that I'm using. You could literally build this entire thing out of cobblestone if you want to. 19 blocks up, 3 blocks wide every single side, 3x3 of hoppers in the bottom. Once you have something that looks like this, it's time to start building the bottom layer of this farm. To begin building the bottom layer, grab 3 staircases on every single side and place them on top of the blocks that you just placed. You're going to end up with a funnel that looks like that. Now from one staircase, go ahead and build 2 blocks out. Go to the next side, build 2 blocks out, the next side, 2 blocks out, and then finally, guess what you're going to do on the last side? With something that looks a little bit like this, we're going to take even more building blocks and basically connect the sides except the corners. We're going to skip that very corner block. Then we're going to fill the rest of this platform in. This platform that we're setting up right here is going to act as our water funnel. Now back up on top of this platform, place a temporary block, a temporary one, and a temporary one. Place a fence gate, and a fence gate. Then 3 more fence gates on the other side, 1 right there, a temporary something right there, and then another gate. Then we can come back and remove this middle thing and these 3 blocks. These fence gates all need to be opened as well. This is going to stop water from falling into our farm. The final thing that we need to do to set our water funnel up right, aside from putting the water in, is place some building blocks on the corners like this, towering up. That'll help us get our water right. Now that we've done that, we can put walls on this section and move on to the rest of the farm. The walls here need to be 5 blocks tall. When you're building these walls, again, absolutely do not use blocks that will let any light through at all. These technically don't need to be spawnable blocks though, so tinted glass is definitely cool. Oh, and by the way, if you need up and down while building this farm, a great way to make that happen is by putting water on top of your hoppers. Maybe I guess I should have said that sooner, but water on top of the hoppers and then blocks so you can get up and down. That, or even better, maybe like a scaffolding tower inside of this part of the farm. Finish building your walls up all the way around this lower part of the chamber, and then finally is water time. Now you gotta be careful. When you're putting water sources in here, in survival, you could totally be pushed by the water and drop to 20 blocks. That's gonna be really, really dangerous. If you're a little bit nervous about this, you could totally wait to put the water in until later in the build. But it's probably safer to do it now. Place a water source on top of every block that sits a little bit higher up in the corners of your farm. In total, that's gonna be 8 water sources. Make sure your water curtains look something like this. Once they do, it's time to move on to the first spawning layer of this farm. Pick a side, any side, it doesn't matter. Place a block and then place 2 more blocks coming out. From that spot that lines up with the center of your farm, build 4 blocks out in one direction and 4 in the other. Then we're gonna go ahead and come back in and fill it all in. We're making a spawning platform that is 9 blocks long, 3 blocks wide, hanging off the side of this farm. After we finish that on one side, we're gonna go over to the next side, line up with the center, and do it all again. And then, somewhat shockingly, after I finish those 2 sides, I'm gonna move over to the next one and do it all again. And finally, last but not least here, we move over to the final side where I haven't done it yet. 3 blocks wide, 9 blocks long. When you finish building these platforms, they should all kind of connect, but not fully connect. To actually finish off the spawning layer, we'll come back in and properly connect the corners of every single platform. We're gonna end up with something that looks kind of like this. Next up, from the middle on one of the side, place a temporary block, a permanent block, a temporary block, and then finally, one more permanent block. When we're set it up with this farm, we're gonna remove these 2 and that one right there. Now that we have that middle block in, we could use that middle block, build off of it, place less temporary blocks. Directly centered above the middle hopper in this farm, we need a building block. Then, around that building block, we're gonna need fences on every single side. That's gonna take 8 fences total. They could be any type of fence you want. Sitting on these blocks right here next to the fences, we're gonna need buttons. Again, any type of button. That's gonna stop spawns from happening. Now finally, we're gonna need a trap door right there, and we're gonna open it. Then we're gonna put another trap door and open it again. If you ever build any kind of mob farm in your life, then you know trap doors are one of the most useful things. They're gonna trick the creepers into setting themselves right into the water funnel. If you didn't know, creepers absolutely hate cats and ocelots. It's kind of terrible. But also, sometimes, unfortunately, cats and ocelots are bugged right now since 1.14. Instead of using cats and ocelots, in this farm, directly centered, you need to build a snow golem and let it stand there. Snow golems also hate creepers. They will target the creepers, throw a snowball at the creeper, eventually, and trick the creeper. With all of these blocks and trapdoors placed in here, getting a snow golem into your farm is going to be insanely easy. Open up some of the trapdoors, move to the middle. Place 2 snow blocks, place a carved pumpkin on top of it, and you're good to go. Make sure you open these trapdoors up before you leave the farm. The next step of our build today here is going to be put some walls on this layer of the farm. The walls need to be 2 blocks tall, and they need to go all the way around this layer of the farm, but not on the inside, only on the outside. These walls also need to be built out of blocks that do not let light through. With the walls fully in, back on the inside of your farm, to stop spiders from spawning in this farm and clogging it up, we're gonna need carpets. We'll need 4 carpets on every single side. If you space them out, centered by 1 block just like that, no spiders will ever spawn inside of your farm. And so, once you have something that looks like that, you're just about done with 1 layer of the farm. The next layer of this farm is going to sit directly above this one, but there is one final thing that we're gonna need to add to this layer before we move on to the next one. To actually add that thing, make it a little bit easier though, we're going to start by building the platform, the floor, for the next layer. When building the floor for each additional layer today, you will need to line the floor up directly above the floor of the last one. It's going to be the same 9 block long, 3 block wide platform with 1 corner connection in the corners. It's time for trapdoors, and this is going to be a little bit expensive, but we need to line the ceiling of this floor with trapdoors all over the place. Trapdoors are essential for any kind of creeper farm because, actually, creepers are a little bit shorter than zombies and skeletons. By placing trapdoors in here, we will stop all zombies and skeletons from spawning in this farm. Couple more trapdoors, and there we go. With trapdoors placed on the bottom of the ceiling, or like the top area, like that on every single block, creepers will now only be able to spawn in this farm once we get this farm ready to go. Next up, it's time to move to the next layer and do it all again. When building the second layer of your farm, it's going to be like basically exactly the same thing that you just did. Directly lined up with the middle, two temporary, a permanent, a temporary, and then another permanent. Then we can remove that and remove those. Then from the middle, we'll go ahead and build the exact same platform. This platform is going to be basically touching the snow golem's head. We place trap doors in the middle and open them up so we can lure the creepers down. We place buttons on top of these blocks so nothing can spawn next to the snow golem and unfortunately hurt it. It's fences all around this middle block. It's walls all the way around the outside, 2 blocks tall. Back in the middle of this farm, it's time for snow golem number 2. We go ahead and build the snow, place the pumpkin, and there we go. A little pro tip for you, it is technically possible to reuse the pumpkin from this farm. By using shears on a snow golem in the middle, you'll get the pumpkin back. It should fall all the way down to the bottom, or if you're lucky, you catch it. Then after that, when the time is right, as in you're building the next layer of your farm, you can place the snow, use that same carved pumpkin, make a snowman, and take the pumpkin back again. Now, when the time is right, the next layer of the farm. So at this point in my build today, I have successfully built not 1 layer, but 2 layers of this farm. When it comes to how many layers of this farm that you want to build today, it's totally your call. If you want to, you could build 1 layer of the farm and call it good. If you're like crazy overkill, you could build 9 layers of this farm and call that good. It literally doesn't matter at all. But excuse me, it literally does matter at all. The thing that is going to determine how many layers of this farm you're going to want to build is the amount of gunpowder you're looking for from this farm. When I was designing this creeper farm compared to other ones, my goal was to keep it relatively cost efficient while still creating a creeper farm that does actually work. Of course, logically thinking here, as I begin to expand this farm and make it taller and taller and taller, it's going to require more and more materials. In my opinion, the sweet spot when it comes to layers of this farm you should consider building, anywhere between 3 to 5. That should probably be good. If you harvest the creepers with a looting sword, 5 layers should be enough layers of this farm for quite some time. Now, every single time you're building each additional layer of the farm, make sure you're doing everything exactly the same as the last layer. You'll need perfectly identically the same thing done the same way on each floor. However many layers of this farm you end up doing for yourself in your world, once you reach the very final layer, begin exactly the same. Put the same ceiling on top of the floor, and then put trapdoors all over the place covering that ceiling. With trapdoors placed all over the ceiling on my final layer, this farm is actually now just about done. I've got 5 layers of this farm built right here. Now we need to get out of this farm. Before we close the ceiling, definitely get out. To get out of the farm, hopefully you have some kind of like scaffolding thing that you've been using. Maybe you have like water down there or something. If that is the situation and you're sure that you build everything identically the same on every floor, jump out and get out of the farm. Right now is the part of the build where you remove any water that you might have at the bottom or scaffolding or anything extra that you have in the farm. Now at some point, whether it's right now or later on after you fully finish the farm, you may want to consider expanding this platform that is down here beneath the farm. This area down here at the bottom of the farm is where you're going to need to stand to actually make the farm run. AFK on this platform, or like do something else on this platform while creepers spawn and fall. Anyways, from this platform, using either scaffolding or some kind of temporary block, make your way all the way up to the very top of this farm. From the outside, once you've made your way back up to the top of this farm, the very final thing that you need to do is cover the top of this farm. The top of this farm needs to be covered again in blocks that will not let light through. As soon as you fully fill this thing in, it's going to get really, really dark inside of the farm, and actually, creepers might be able to spawn. So placing the very final blocks of the farm, and just like that, the entire inside of the farm is now nice and dark. If I get far enough away from this farm, creepers will now be able to spawn inside of this thing, and then will start to fall down to the middle because they're targeted by the snowman. Before you get all the way off this farm though, if you're planning on doing long AFK sessions at this thing to let it like rack up creepers, place some light on top of it. All the way back down here at the bottom of the farm, slowly but surely creepers should begin to jump down and fall down. Now to actually be able to use this farm for yourself, break these bottom blocks right here, walk up to the creepers and swing a sword. If you take the creepers out with looting 3 on your sword, you'll get more gunpowder per creeper. Now a couple final optional modifications. Using the farm like this, technically possible, may be a little bit dangerous. You see, if I get close enough, the creepers will see me and move to me, and if I wait too close to it for long enough, they could blow up. That's a big problem. To prevent any unwanted accidents, consider covering the hoppers with slabs. If you cover the hoppers with slabs like that, or alternatively, put slabs right here around the outside, then you're going to be 100% safe from the creepers, or just about, as long as you don't stand too close. Now, I really do highly recommend using looting 3 to take the creepers out in this farm. You're just gonna get way more gunpowder than you would without it. But if you don't care about maximizing your drops, maybe if you want to like fully AFK at this farm, then you can take campfires and place them at the bottom of this farm everywhere. The creepers will land on the campfires and actually burn up. The type of campfire they use in here doesn't really matter because we're so far away from the farm. Now, with campfires placed in here, check this out. The creepers fall and they burn for a quick second, and then their drops are all picked up by the hoppers and put into the chest. It's pretty nice, actually, but you're definitely losing out on a whole lot more drops. And so, your Minecraft 1.20 plus creeper farm. Insanely easy to build, optionally fully automatic, and so safe to use too. If you have any additional questions about my design, drop them down in the comments below, or put them on the awesome subreddit, r/waddles, and I'll try and get back to you. For more amazing farms you need inside of your world, check out my tutorial playlist. It's on the end card. But before you do that, smash like and subscribe. Dearly and sincerely, thank you all so much for watching this tutorial today. I hope it helps you out inside of your world. Huge thank you to my patrons who allow me the time to build cool farms like this. Infamous MC, Michael H, CK, Skelly Wampus, and Steve M. You're the best. This has been me, Waddles, a beautiful Minecraft creeper farm forever. I'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.